Now let's move to this story that's causing a lot of controversy. A new sports facility in the Eastern Cape is getting a lot of attention, but for all the wrong reasons. The Lesseyton sports field in the Enoch Mgijima local municipality is supposed to be state-of-the-art, and the municipality says it cost 15 million rand. Work included palisade fencing, rock blasting, earthworks and water reticulation installation. But the photos are raising questions about just how the money was spent. And for more on this, I'm joined by eNCA sports editor Vata Ngobeni. Vata, thank you so much for joining us. You know Lesseyton well. Tell us about this part of the Eastern Cape.
I mean, Sally, again, it's a part of the Eastern Cape that has produced many sports stars and, political figures, iconic political figures. However, you look at the landscape, though, and I looked at the rock blasting and so on. Lesseyton is probably about 10 to 5 kilometers outside Komani, which is the old Queenstown, as you're driving in from El North and Jamestown. So, and right next to it is Swartwater, home of Kailet Malatana, first Black African Springbok. So it's a very, very flat area, very rural. And I understand the need for a sports facility there because it's a growing community. However, to look at the amount of money they've spent and actually what it is that we see is to me, they're two very, very different things. And it makes you wonder where that money has actually gone to.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is what everyone is saying on social media. Let's just take a look at those images as we continue chatting, because I think it was the shot of the two metal, they look like portable stadium grandstands that were put there with someone holding a tatty piece of tape to cut through, other people sitting, it seems, on plastic chairs. Those are the images, and it doesn't look like 15 million rand was spent. They're talking about water reticulation, they're talking about a track that was organised, but if you look at the track, you can see there, Vata, I mean, it's dry as a bone. So if they did indeed put in a borehole, you would imagine surely there'd be grass or at least astroturf. I mean, you know sports. Yeah. What would you expect for 15 million?
I think for 15 million, I'd expect more than that. You go to Komani itself, there's Dumpy Adams sports fields there. That was a 2010 legacy project. That was vandalized to a point of no return.
But have a look here. Look in there. Wouldn't that cost 15 million? They're saying.
Sorry, there is no way those bathrooms would cost, those change rooms would cost 15 million. You speak about a borehole, Sally. You speak about the fact that the field itself doesn't even look as if it's had water in the last 10 months, if not a year. That track. Yeah, it's not even a track. It's something that is a patch of grass and soil that, you could see lines were drawn on it. And they call that. And then you look at the rugby field and the football field and you say to yourself, come on. They're really taking, and I feel sorry for the people of Lesseyton because they deserve these facilities, and there was a shoddy job done by, or not a shoddy job, I'll say, Sally, the amount of money that's being spent, said to be spent, which is actually not even 15 million, Sally. We went onto Talami's Civil's website and we found out that the total amount for the job was 22 million.
So Takami Civils is the company that did this sports facility?
Yeah, Talami Civils, they constructed this facility itself, and it says on their website the cost was 22 million, the total cost. So it's not 15 million, as Enoch Mgijima municipality would want us to believe, but it is actually 22 million. So there's still another 7 million that has not been mentioned. And once you start thinking about 22 million, and I'll go to Sandringham sports fields that have been vandalized. Sadly, there used to be squash courts, don't exist anymore, in that part of the world. You go to Madero sports field, doesn't exist anymore. You go to Mlungisi Stadium, the only rugby team now left in Queenstown or Komani is Breakers Rugby Club, and they play out of Mlungisi. Those facilities, Sally, are shocking. You go to Esbeleni, and again, these are the townships and rural areas, previously disadvantaged areas, that are in such dire need of these facilities, because they still have children, schools rely on those facilities, but also the clubs as well rely on those facilities. So it's a very sad set of affairs. And again, it outlines, how these municipalities are actually using sports and recreation as a place where they can siphon money to the individuals' benefits.
Well, I mean, you know, the other thing, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, because, you know, they've come up with a statement. They're saying they're setting the record straight. They're aware of the concerns. They regret the manner in which the initial post was shared, where minimal detail was provided. So, to be fair, we are showing those interior shots of the change rooms and what have you. They mention things such as the 780 metres of palisade fencing, that there's a rugby and a soccer field, that they had to clear the site, lay the grounds. They talk about rock blasting. Is this a very rocky area? As
far as I know, Sally, Lesseyton is as flat as they come.
Right.
Flatter than Table Mountain, the top of Table Mountain. So I don't understand what rock blasting, and even if there was any rock blasting, I don't think it would spend that amount of money on rock blasting. I spoke to a guy who's actually a quantity surveyor, and guys who also run these civil engineering companies, and they've seen the pictures, and they said to me, there is no ways that project would cost that amount of money. And when I said 22 million, then they said something is amiss.
And you're mentioning sports facilities in the area that are in desperate need of help and are not getting it.
Not looked after at all. Sally, this very same Enoch Mgijima municipality, I was fortunate actually, I drove down through Hofmeer, I went down to Cradock a few weeks ago, and Sally, you just look at Hofmeer, you look at Maltino, and you look at the lack of sports facilities, and those that are there, that were there in the past, how they've not been looked after. What
do you think the community is thinking when they look at this field? I mean, do you know anyone in the community? I know that we're sending a reporter who's going to be there soon, but you know, just because someone is poor and lives in a rural area doesn't mean they can't see when something is not up to scratch.
I know a few people, actually, I was just speaking to one of them earlier on, just before coming on air, and he is telling me about the massive outroar in Komani and Lesseyton about this facility. And, you know, they're not finding it funny at all. You go to Komani itself, the residents, Sally, have taken up cleaning up the town and looking after it. You know, so it's again, a sad state of affairs. And the sporting community is not happy. One of the people in the picture there, who I had spoken to, I know quite well, and he said to me, listen, this is not on. This is just not on. When you are there, and then you hear the figure. And again, Sally, people are taking the figure and looking at the facility, what's there, and they're saying there is no ways. Sally, I don't think I've built anything even over R1 million, but I know how far R1 million can go and how far 15 million can go. And there is no way that...
Never mind 22 million, which it seems was actually the figure spent.
Which is actually the real figure. So I think there's a lot of answering Enoch Mgijima municipality has got to do when it comes to this facility.
Well, Vata, thank you very much for that perspective. It's really important, actually. And we have, in fact, invited the municipality on after they released their statement. We're still waiting to hear if they will come and chat to us, because they say they do want to set the record straight, but certainly there are a great deal of questions that they need to answer for us this evening. Vata Ngobeni, thank you very much for that update. That, of course, is eNCA sports editor, talking to us about the Lesseyton sports facility at a cost of, we now know, 22 million rand. Doesn't look like the money was well spent, but let's hope we hear from the municipality this evening.